Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Yolanda Smith, and today I'm speaking out about the actions of a North Carolina Department of Insurance investigator by the name of Mickey J. Biggs. Mr. Biggs is currently also Robson Community College teacher for basic law enforcement, and also is a former Lumberton police officer. Today I'm speaking out concerning or bringing attention to Mickey J. Biggs and his abuse of power, constant harassment, unethical behavior, and pick and choose justice. Racial discrimination and retaliatory actions have been rendered against myself, my family, and my friends by this investigator. The actions of this investigator have left me and my family questioning the pure fabric of our judicial system and those entrusted with enforcing the law. It seems that with Mickey Biggs, justice is just us. The incident that I want to speak with you about today is involving local bail bondsman Vicky Bass of Bass Bail Bonding. Miss Bass and I, my company, which was CAB Bail Bonding, just to go back, I was a licensed bail agent back in 2006, started bail bonding in 2007, performed mainly all of my bonds in Robinson County. Bladen County, which is my home, I didn't do as many bonds in Bladen County as I did in Robinson County. Robinson County was my bread and butter county. Miss Bass employed two unlicensed individuals to assist and perform bail bond duties in the apprehension of a Patrick Curtis Lowry on or about April 16th of 2009. Miss Bass contacted my company, CAB Bail Bonding, because of the fact that she had this individual out on bond as well as my company. My bonding company only had a $500 bond out on Mr. Lowry, whereas Miss Bass had thousands of dollars out on Patrick Lowry. So Mr. Lowry was not on our radar of concern to really just go out and apprehend instantly. Miss Bass stressed to us on a daily basis, or stressed to my husband, Merlin Jerome Smith, on a daily basis that this individual needed to be picked up because he was going out of town and we would both lose monies on this individual.
Why was she stressing it to your husband? And what role did your husband play for her to keep stressing it to him?
My husband was not ever a licensed bondsman. He never portrayed himself as such. He was merely my husband, and he only performed basic office duties in the realm of a day-to-day course of activity in a bail bonding.
So you're saying she would call the office and he would answer the phone?
That is correct.
And so she would ask him those questions because he was the person there in the office answering the phone?
That is correct.
Okay.
And he would stress to her on numerous occasions that he was not the bondsman. He would have to wait until I got off work because I worked full-time at a bank during the day. So I would deal with my bail bond activities after I got off work. So he was stressed to her that he was not the one that could pick her up anyway. According to statements that were given by Patrick Lowry, the individuals were paid by Miss Bass to go to Mr. Patrick Lowry's home and offer him the possibility of employment, to get information about him and to see if he was in fact leaving town.
When you say statements, what statements are you talking about? Where are those statements coming from?
Mr. Lowry had given several statements to Agent Mickey Biggs, stating how these individuals came to his home and portrayed themselves as construction workers to get information about him, and then came back on another day, and that was whenever I was with him and my husband was there as well.
Those statements are recorded documents, affidavit documents?
Those statements are in possession of the North Carolina Department of Insurance, and I do have them as exhibits as well.
Okay.
Patrick Lowry and his girlfriend actually gave Mickey Biggs several statements that Vicky Bass orchestrated this entire surrender when Patrick Lowry was picked up. After she contacted my husband numerous times, and we do have phone records to support that, she had knowledge there again that my husband was not licensed, and the two individuals that she sent there again were not licensed. My husband told Mrs. Bass that he could not arrest Patrick Lowry, and we also have a witness with that as well. She persistently requested that he help, And the individuals contacted my husband, and we arranged a time to meet to pick up Mr. Lowry. Once we picked up Mr. Lowry and I handcuffed and picked him up, I then appeared at the Robeson County Jail with him and off the bonds, or basically released my liability from having Mr. Lowry out on bond. Before I could get out of the actual, before I could actually get out of the jail, Miss Bass came in to off her bonds on Mr. Lowry. So clearly she had knowledge of the whole surrender, because she did orchestrate the surrender in the first place. There was two individuals that Vicki Bass had at the scene. One stated that he was her son. Patrick Lowry has on numerous occasions told Mickey Biggs that these two individuals were on the scene, but yet he still wants to pursue the avenue of that my husband was the bondsman or the person that handcuffed Patrick Lowry, after Patrick Lowry has given testimony to the fact that my husband never ever handcuffed him, that I was the only person that did the handcuffing in that situation. My problem today is that Mickey Biggs has never ever, Vicki Bass has never lost her license. She's never skipped a beat. She's always been able to write bonds during this investigation, of which we were told that she was being investigated, but there's no proof ever out there on the Department of Insurance's website saying that her license has ever been taken because of this incident. I wasn't given a chance to have my license revoked temporarily or suspended. They were just revoked permanently. As a result of that, my business, Cab Bill Bonding, which was an acronym for Columbus and Bladen, which is where I thought I would do most of my business when I first started the company, is now out of business. Because of that, my photograph and my family's photographs have been plastered across every newspaper in Robeson County, stating that we are a fraudulent, that we were operating as a fraudulent company, that we were basically out breaking all sorts of laws. And because of that, we've lost our business. I've lost my license. My son.
Miss Smith, it's a story that you've been telling. Can you expound on the day that the person was arrested? Can you expound on exactly, what happened that day? And also, can you tell us exactly, when you mentioned statements, where are those statements? What kind of statements are they? Can you tell us more about that?
Certainly. The statements that I'm speaking of would be on record. They're actually court documented testimony from Patrick Lowry that he gave in his testimony in our trial. And also there are other
Is your mic on? There we go. Sorry. Go ahead.
Those statements can be found. They're actually court documented records from Patrick Lowry's testimony that he gave in Robeson County Court.
Okay.
The exhibits that I'm speaking of would have been on display at North Carolina Department of Insurance in our administrative hearings. Those exhibits also are in possession of my previous attorney, Mr. Gregory Thompson.
Okay.
So those are all in his possession, and those should be at Department of Insurance as well. To speak again about the day of the surrender, as I stated earlier, I worked during the day at a bank, and my husband's not licensed, so therefore he explained to Ms. Bass that the surrender would have to take place when I got off work. That afternoon, my husband and I arrived at a local gas station, and we met these two individuals that Vicki Bass had paid to go out and speak with Patrick Lowry about performing work under the pretense that they were contractors. We met with them because we didn't know where Mr. Lowry was staying, and we followed them back to the residence. They took us there, drove by the house so we could see where Mr. Lowry was residing. At that point in time, I actually put my husband off down the road from Mr. Lowry's home as I proceeded to drive up to the house so he would not be in the car with me to do the actual pickup. Vicki Bass's people had proceeded to go into the driveway because they had the relationship with Patrick Lowry, because they'd been by the house on several occasions talking to him about this construction job. When they pulled into the driveway, Mr. Lowry came out because, again, he knew them, and he started talking with them. That was the plan. They were going to get them out into the driveway so that way I could then come up and pick them up from down the road, which is where I was located. When I pulled into the driveway, I then proceeded to announce myself as Cab Bill Bonding, Yolanda Smith, and I said, Patrick, you're under arrest. Patrick at that time proceeded, my husband, mind you, was down the road. Vicky Bass's employees were in the driveway speaking with Patrick Lowry. My husband was walking down the road coming up to the residence at that time, and Patrick proceeded to go to him to say, here, you can handcuff me. My husband said, no, I'm not the bondsman. Yolanda is. I proceeded to handcuff Mr. Lowry. Once handcuffed, he wanted to go in to put on clothing, proper clothing to go to the jail. At that point in time, Vicky Bass's person, of whom later I'm finding out, told Patrick Lowry that he was Vicky Bass's son, escorted him into the home. He actually pushed Mr. Lowry a little bit against the car, and he said that he just was doing business. It was just business, that he had to go back to jail. So he actually indicated more like he was an actual bondsman. And
when you say he pushed him against the car, the person that Bass paid to act as a contractor took Patrick and pushed him into the car, and what was the conversation
he
you
just
said?
kind of placed his hand on him, but by him being handcuffed, he kind of pushed him a little bit, towards the car, and he said, this is just business. And so he alluded more to the fact of being a bondsman than anyone else on that scene.
Do you mind demonstrating exactly where he put his hand? Like if your son was the Patrick and you were the person, exactly how did he handle Patrick?
Certainly. After I'd handcuffed Patrick and his handcuffs were behind him, then he was standing up just beside my vehicle, and maybe the vehicle perhaps maybe was the chair, but he was standing there, and so the guy approached him and he just kind of put his hand on his shoulder, but it kind of threw Patrick back, kind of pushed him a little
As
bit.
if he was putting him in the car.
Right. And then Mr. Lowry, of course, wanted to put on proper clothing to go to the jail. He escorted Mr. Lowry into the home, stayed in the home for over 10 minutes or so. I actually became worried because I'm thinking, I've handcuffed this person. This is, I have to head to the jail with him. What are they doing in the home? Again, my husband stayed on the outside of the house with me. The other person that Vicky Bass had proceeded to walk around the house. I never spoke with him.
Now, during this whole time, did your husband make any statements or take any actions?
No, he did not, other than when Patrick went to him for him to handcuff him after I announced myself and told him who I was with. And he went to my husband. And the reason why he went to my husband, my speculation, is because he had spoke with him before on the phone. Again, CAB being an acronym for Columbus and Bladen counties, which Bladen is the county we reside in. Columbus was my hometown, which I was born in. That's how we got the name CAB Bill Bonding. However, people seem to assimilate the name Cab with my husband, Merlin Jerome Smith. Not because he told them that was his name, but that's what they just associate him with.
So basically what you're saying is Vicky Bass had people that were doing more things there, almost acting as a bail agent, and your husband was standing over saying nothing.
That is correct.
Okay, can you tell us from that day forward what procedures took place to get you to where you are today? What things took place?
Well, after that incident happened, Mickey Biggs stated that he received a phone call from Patrick Lowry while he was incarcerated.